Hey everyone, may the odds be ever in our favor. Today I'm excited to review a beautiful poetry book by Mahmud Darwish titled The Lover from Palestine, Pecinta dari Palestina. But its original title is uh, unfortunately it was Paradise. Mahmud Darwish was born on March 13, like me. Oh no, I am 12 March. In years 1941 in a small Palestinian village, became one of the most influential poets of his time. His life and work are deeply intertwined with the Palestinian experience, capturing their struggles and hopes with incredible emotion and depth. Over his lifetime, Darwish wrote more than 30 books, and his poetry has been translated into many languages. He is so famous poet, right? That make him a powerful voice for his people. Uh, this book, Pecinta dari Palestina, is a collection of poems that takes us on a journey through Darwish's thoughts and feelings at different stages of his life. Its content divided into 7 sections. Wait, I'll open the table of content. Nah, the first section is Daun-daun Zaitun, olive leaves. In the first section, these early poems use the olive tree as a symbol of resilience and connection to the land, reflecting the enduring spirit of the Palestinian people. At the second section is the title of the book, right? The Lover from Palestine, or Pecinta dari Palestina. In the second section, it explores themes of love and longing for the homeland. Darwish combines personal passion with a deep sense of patriotism. In the third section, named Malam Terakhir, or in English, The Last Night, Darwish reflects on the sadness and despair following the Six-Day War, capturing the deep impact of this conflict on Palestine. At the fourth section, the title is so scary, so horrible. Named Bunga-bunga darah, or The Flowers of Blood. The Flower of Blood covered the aftermath of the war from 1967 to 1969 years. These poems vividly depict the bloodshed and loss, but also convey a sense of hope despite the suffering. And at the five section is nyanyian-nyanyian untuk negeri, songs for the country. Darwish's patriotic fervor is evident. These poems are like anthems for freedom. Anthems, yes, song for freedom, expressing a strong desire for a better future for Palestine. Free Palestine. At the sixth section is The Birds Die in Galilee. The birds die, that's a symbol for freedom and spirit. So the freedom is died, right? The image of birds dying in Galilee reflects the crushed hopes and ongoing struggles, Palestinian struggle. At the last section, seventh section, is so romantic, right? The title, My Beloved Rise from her sleep. Kekasihku bangkit dari tidurnya. This is more personal. Here, Darwish writes about love and resistance, with his beloved representing Palestine itself, awakening to continue the fight for freedom. And after that impossible to I read you all from this poems, right? So I will read you just one. I will read the poems. The title, Undangan untuk Mengenang, Invitation to Remember. So listen me, right? Undangan untuk mengenang. Lewatlah dalam ingatanku, sebab pasar-pasar kota ini pun lewat. Pintu restoran musim dingin pun lewat, dan kopi hangat kemarin pun lewat. Lalu ingatanku melubanginya. Burung-burung yang pergi dan sedih, tak melupakan apapun selain wajahmu. Bagaimana bisa menghilang, sedangkan kaulah kunciku menuju jantung kota. That's the poems. These poems invite us to remember the homeland that's been lost but never forgotten. It's filled with powerful imagery that keeps spirit of the past alive in the present. After reading the book, actually I haven't reading this book. I just read a half of this book. Yes. After reading a half from this book, I'm deeply moved by Darwish's ability to capture the emotion of his people. Pecinta dari Palestina, The Lover from the Palestine, is not just a collection of poems. It's a journey through the heart and soul of Palestine. If you are interested in understanding the Palestinian experience, or you just love beautiful poetry, this book is definitely worth reading. Worth it. Darwish's words remind us that even in dark times, hope and spirit endure. Maybe that's all from me. Maybe that's review from me. At least, goodbye. Hello everyone, may the odds be ever in our favor. Today I'm going to share you 3 novel recommendations that I have read, regardless of their genre. Oh, and I'm sorry I don't have that book because they are still at home. Oh, I don't recommend this book because this is not a novel, this is a poem book. Okay, I'll make it fast. The first recommendation is titled Sirkus Pohon by Andra Hirata. This novel, which I read back in middle school, had me laughing non-stop thanks to the whimsical word choice of Mr. Andre Hirata. I was also constantly surprised and amazed by the story intriguing plot twists. The book is a wonderful mix of humor and romance, making it a perfect read if you are looking for something light-hearted yet moving. Maybe I will tell you the synopsis book, right? Sirkus Pohon tell the story of Sobri, a small town boy like me who finds himself in a series of adventures and misadventures after meeting a peculiar circus owner named Taripol. The novel is a tapestry of rich, colorful character and explores themes of friendship, love, and the pursuit of dream in a whimsical, magical setting. And the second novel is Entrok by Oki Madasari. At first glance, the cover and title of this novel might seem a bit off-putting. Yeah, that the picture is so disgusting. But the content is absolutely worth it. The book delves into the intricate issue of culture, religion, and societal conflict. The synopsis is set in 1950 years Indonesia, and Rock followed the life of two women, Sumarni and Rahayu, and their different perspective on life. Sumarni is a traditional Javanese woman, deeply rooted in her custom, while her daughter Rahayu represents the modern rebellion spirit. Through their story, the novel critiques the socio-political and religious norms that dominate society, shedding light on the struggle between old and new beliefs. And then the last recommendation is Tiga Dalam Kayu by Ziki Zesiazio Vienna Zabriskie. That's so difficult name, right? This novel is difficult too. This novel is quite thin, but pew, it really confusing. I had to read it twice to grasp the full meaning of the story. Twice, right? I read it twice. Almost three. The full meaning of the story. It's hard to explain, so you will have to read it yourself. Maybe I will explain it sometime in the future. Tiga Dalam Kayu is a thought-provoking exploration of identity and reality, told through a series of interwoven narratives that blur the line between truth and fiction. Thus, I read the synopsis from Google. The story challenges readers to question their perception and the nature of storytelling itself. And maybe that's my video for this day. Keep turning the pages and may your bookshelf be ever overflowing. Bye bye. Hello everyone, may the odds be ever in our favor. It's look like we experiencing the blackout here, right? You know blackout, mati lampu. But it's not because of a problem from the central power grid, but because our landlady, our ibu kos, just came back from a long trip and might have forgotten to pay the electricity bill. Maybe she forgot. Anyway, today I'm going to talk about 3 interesting facts about mie ayam. I just had mie ayam for dinner and it got me thinking about this topic. So let's dive right in. First fact is history of mie ayam. Mie ayam actually originated in southern China, specifically in Fujian and Guangdong, where it was originally topped with pork. You know pork, babi. Mie ayam originally topped with babi. That is not mie ayam anymore. That's mie babi. But because Indonesia has a majority Muslim population, big population, the topping was changed into chicken. The Chinese trader really know their stuff when it comes to adapting their dish to different cultures, right? So smart, Chinese trader. The second fact is the rooster bowl. When you eat some mie ayam, did you see the bowl that are rooster? That rooster that have apa ya makna, that have some arti there. In China, the rooster is considered a symbol of good fortune and prosperity. Good fortune, keberuntungan. That's why mie ayam vendors often serve the dish in bowls featuring rooster design.
Not only does it match the chicken theme of the dish, but it's also a subtle way for the vendor to hope for prosperous business. And then the last, but it's not a fact, it is a myth, local myth. It's a myth of the ugly cart, gerobak yang jelek. There's a local myth that say the uglier mie ayam cart is the better noodle taste. Gerobak yang paling jelek itu rasanya yang paling enak. It may sound a bit far-fetched, nggak masuk akal. But believe it or not, I have found this to be true on several occasions. The noodle from old worn down carts can sometimes taste better. Maybe it's because the vendors have more experience and have perfected their craft over time. Anyway, practice makes perfect. And maybe that's all the three fact about mie ayam. I I uh, I have this fact from Republica, from Google, right? I have searching before I make this video. You know, uh, research information. That's named research information. You can read it yourself in Republika 4 fakta menarik mie ayam. So maybe that's all from me. Sorry for the darkness, but thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.
Hello everyone, may the odds be ever in our favor. Today, I actually want to vlog early in the morning, but it was a pretty hectic morning. I'm so hectic. We had an English test at 8 a.m., so I had to get up, have breakfast, and get ready early. I had planned to vlog from the gazebo behind my course, but there wasn't enough time. I'm cooking, take a bath, something. By the way, I think I did pretty well on the test, especially considering I did not study and totally forgot there was a test today. I got 86 in my test, which isn't too bad. The highest score in the class was 88 by my friend. Just a little difference, right? But I'm not totally play my test, honestly. Also, tonight class was self-study, belajar mandiri, because our mentor is currently out of town on another island in Lampung. He's in Lampung. So we have been learning on our own for the past couple of days. Kita belajar 2 hari mandiri. 2 hari kemarin main pusing sih. Today I'm really missing. I feel really missing someone. My heart feel a bit restless and I'm not sure why. It's a strange feeling. It's like you didn't see someone for a long time and you miss them. Maybe I feel that thing. Oh yeah, and tonight is the eve of 17 Agustus, which is mark Indonesian 79 Independence Day. So happy Independence Day. What's again? I don't know what to talking again, so I will end my vlog today. this vlog tomorrow in morning, right? I want to gazebo in the morning. So maybe that's all for tonight vlog. I will probably stay up until around midnight to continue with my JavaScript material, my lesson, my programming lesson. Okay, maybe that's it for now. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye bye. Hello everyone. May the odds be ever in our favor as we start tonight vlog. This morning I start the day with a simple breakfast. Fried rice with some sausage on the side. It was pretty good, but I originally planned to cook a stir fry with long beans. You know, a stir fry with long bean is oseng-oseng kacang panjang with some soya bean, with some tempeh in that ingredients. Unfortunately, I forgot to buy tempeh, so I asked my landlady, my ibu kos, to pick some up for me around 10 a.m. while I was in class. So I ended this morning with no cooking that oseng-oseng, but I fry some fried rice. Speaking of English class, it was pretty interesting today. We focused on pronunciation, which was both challenging and fun. You know, pronunciation is very very surprising. It's like a native speaker or British. You know, British. It's like Harry Potter movie. I like that pronunciation. Later in the day, something cool happened. Something cool happened. My friend Haikal's parents, yes, Haikal parents, came to visit our course. They brought him a new laptop and a few extra things for his room. It was nice to see him so excited about it. But what really made my day was something beautiful, something simple, yet it meant a lot to me, you know. Sometimes I wonder why we as humans often chase after a big thing that might not even bring us happiness. Today, I found happiness in the small thing, a peaceful life, a comfortable environment, simple place, little simple place, and of course, getting to see those narrow eyes I have missed and will always miss. Narrow eyes, you know, narrow eyes. Nasibit. I miss and will always miss. And maybe that is for today. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Bye bye.